And 4, 3, 2. Just about ready to get started. We will be getting started in just a moment. All right, guys, welcome to this month's Coretium Media webinar. We're going to talk about marketing and why you need it. There's a vast array of reasons why you need marketing, and a lot of them means you don't have to go to an agency. A lot of the stuff you can do yourself. Some things are a bit more technical, and you might want to think about hiring somebody on, and then we're going to give a very brief, and when I say very brief, I do mean very brief, kind of breakdown on how the GDPR will affect email marketing at the very end. I'll start this with saying that it's no way legal advice, and we neither of us are solicitors in this country, so please just, if you have real questions, contact a solicitor. To download this whole 97 pages of the guide to general data protection regulations that takes into effect May 5th of 2018, go to ico.org.uk. Again, that's ico.org.uk. But we're going to get into marketing. We're going to talk about different avenues of marketing, traditional to digital. So, Ruben, why don't we start off with traditional?
So, traditional marketing, better known as, say, broadcast, direct mail, print, and telemarketing. So broadcast would be more kind of television and radio, and let's be honest, it is still traditionally used. Think about, well, I don't know if you've got any American football fans out there. I know I certainly have become one. So the Super Bowl is not this weekend, but the following weekend. And so TV adverts are at an absolute premium there. They are, how much do they, how much?
Millions per second. It's a joke how much they charge per second. Hey, a funny thing as well is, and we noticed this the other day, and it wasn't funny, but it caught me off guard. There was a tsunami warning in Alaska after the earthquake, and it was sponsored by Toyota. The news station that I was watching the little thing from had tsunami warning, and then it had the Toyota logo there. So brands do use different ways, still relating back to traditional. I know over here ITV does the sponsored by, Checker Trade does it.
Yeah, I think, going back to American TV programs, Lethal Weapon is on a Friday night, and sorry, it's not a cheap plug, but it's on a Friday night, and it does say Checker Trade sponsors Lethal Weapon, and it's got some sort of, how do we put it, buddy cop plumbers trying to fix things. It does bring a smile to my face,
and that's just it.
But it is tradition. It's still traditional marketing, even though it's on the TV.
And even it goes back to things like radio advertising, and a lot of like tech companies, smaller companies like Lisa Mattress and stuff like that. They have switched their advertising dollars from traditional radio to now sponsoring like podcasts. So if you do listen to any podcasts out there, you'll hear adverts run. And normally what it is a live read, so they actually have the host reading out an advert for Lisa Mattress or something along those lines. What other traditional?
So you've got the direct mail as well. That's, it's basically getting posts through your letterbox. I know that's quite alien to some people now, but it still works for the takeaways, the pizzas, the amount of, I'm sure there's many people on a Friday night when I don't know, they just pick up a leaflet and go, oh, I fancy Supreme deal, and phone in. And that is a way, but a lot of people now do throw them away unless it has to really hit the mark with direct mail. You has to, when you send it, it has to really hit the mark, and it has to be something which they want. Because most people, including me, I'd say when I see something come through my letterbox, if it is urgently important, I will probably leave it for a while before I even kind of think about it.
Well, I think one of the biggest things, though, is the reason why we're getting quote unquote junk mail and things through the letterboxes because it does work. If it didn't work, people would have stopped. They wouldn't be investing that money in it. So if you're looking to get into print, it tends to be a lower cost option for reaching people. There's plenty of companies out there that you can hire that do the deliveries, and it's more of a numbers game with that one. That really is about the more houses that it goes to, the better return on investment you're kind of going to get.
And with print as well, obviously, with say the direct mail that's through letterboxes. With print, it's not just kind of stops at leaflets. You can obviously go into newspapers and magazines. Obviously, this will have a significantly larger cost, but it also allows you to do kind of mass marketing or niche marketing. So you have the opportunity to kind of reach all sorts of segments in the type of magazine which you go into, or the newspaper. Obviously, if you go into the Times or the Sun, the reader variance is quite vast. So what you advertise or what kind of business you are would kind of depend on that. So there are still, print is still, the amount of times you pick up a paper and something falls out.
And that kind of leans as well into advertising in the tube or wall advertising or traditional like billboard advertising. Those things, there's a reason why those things are around. And the whole purpose of this webinar is to let you know that you're seeing these advertising as a business owner, so you should know that you need to be doing some sort of marketing. You don't have to do all of them. I don't think there's anybody, except for maybe Bezos and Amazon, that could afford to do every single platform. But what you need to do is figure out which one works best for your industry. And the best way to really do that, especially if you're going off traditional, is to look and see if any of your major competition are using it. And if you know they're successful, because let's be honest, we all do competitive analysis, find out who the people around us are really good at what we're already doing. And if they're doing something specific, I wouldn't say it's the IBM approach. You go in and you borrow this, you borrow that, and next thing you know, you turn into Microsoft. But what you can do is do it better than your competition, so you stand out a little bit, but you still have to have that marketing. Gone are the days of people just randomly finding you. Putting up your shingle and saying, oh, the customers will come. That's not true anymore. There's far too much competition. What else do we have in traditional?
Traditional, we've got the one which I think some people call it cold calling, other people call it telemarketing.
Which, shockingly enough, it seems like it's on a kind of a resurgence. And I don't just mean PPI or a once a week
car accident.
Have you been in a car accident? To which my response is always, yes, I have. I don't know my name. I don't know where I'm at. Can you help me, please? Please tell me who I am. How did you get my phone number? Because I need to tell somebody that this is my phone number and have them call me. To which they usually hang up at about that point, which is nice. But when it comes to B2B marketing, that's still a viable option. Now, you will get ghosted sometimes. Some people will just say, I'm not interested. The key behind it is similar to what we'll talk about coming up as far as with video. You have about 3 seconds. So just remember that. If you are doing cold calling, you have 3 seconds to grab somebody's attention and make that pitch work. If you don't do it in 3 seconds, you've already lost them. They're already thinking about something else, and the call's over. And that's pretty much it on the traditional, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we get into more of the digital side, and we'll get into why you need to do specific things just to be able to be found today. I guess the first one we could start off with is just a website. Now, you may have built your website, and you may be very proud of your website, and you may think, you know what, I did it all by myself, and I used a company that helps you build websites by just dropping things in. You don't build your website for you.
You build it for your customers.
Yeah, your customers don't care what you like. They honestly don't. I know it's hard to hear that, but all the work that you put into it, everything that you did for it, you built it for you. You didn't build it for your customers. So you got to think about that. When you look at it and you're showing it off to your friends, oh yeah, I built this. that's great and all, and you should get kudos. And I bet you spent a lot of time on YouTube, or you took some design classes, whatever it may be. But you need to build a website that actually converts customers, and the only way to do that is to really think outside the box, meaning don't build it for you, build it for them. Into the website, you'll get into things like SEO. You want to give a breakdown of what SEO is?
So SEO is your organic ranking on Google. So, for instance, you're on Google, you are looking for a cup of coffee, and so you type in coffee place, well, because we're based in Canary Wharf, we'll say Canary Wharf. So coffee place Canary Wharf, and normally when you do that, you'll get the ads at the top, which are the PPC ads. We'll get into that in a minute. Then below that, you have like a little map, and then you have the rankings organically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The higher you are on that, the better your SEO is. And the way I like to put it is SEO is a marathon. If you were getting anyone to do it for you, you would probably choose someone like Mo Farah. Whereas something like PPC is a sprint. It's the eBay of keywords. You get Usain Bolt to get you to the top as quickly as possible.
Now with SEO, there is white hat and black hat. Back in 2008, there was this thing called the panda effect. What ended up happening with it, there were individuals that were doing things that are outside the norm. I.e., if you have a website and say the bottom of your website is black, and in there you put every single possible area you cover also in black font, and you're kind of hiding it. And what you're doing is hoping that when Google's robots crawl it, they see those keywords and they go, oh, okay, this is cool. That is very bad, and it can lead to ending up on page 10 of Google, which the only other thing on page 10 of Google is like Jimmy Hoffa's body. Like you don't want to be there. So SEO, it's something that's important. It's time consuming. It's not a quick fix, but it's also for organic growth. It's one of the 3 things you can do that can actually help with organic growth as far as being found on the internet.
You also need to think about, so Nick was talking about your website and SEO. So something that goes hand in hand with that is your mobile phone. They're thinking, what am I talking about? So your website, so for Google to rank you now, they no longer take your website how it looks on a desktop, because let's face it, the majority of us, when we look at something, it's on a mobile or some sort of tablet device. So they will rank you on how your website looks on a mobile phone. So you need to make sure your website is also mobile optimized. Otherwise, when, like Nick said, when the Google robots crawl through and they see it's not mobile optimized, you could be with Hoffa on page 10, unfortunately.
And that all of this marketing, the new digital side of it, as with PPC that we'll get into next, kind of relates back to seller, because they're all kind of hand in hand. And that's the key with like doing marketing. First and foremost, have a marketing strategy. We talked earlier about doing traditional marketing. You got to have a strategy as far as that, meaning, okay, I'm going to put together a budget. And I know small to medium businesses, this is difficult. I get that. Saying, I don't know what my budget is, or I don't have a budget in mind, or whatever other thing that you can think of. I ran a small business. I understand exactly what it means to have a budget. I know what it means to be able to keep the lights on and not have money for marketing. But when establishing your marketing budget, and this is a key thing behind it, you need to sit and look and figure out how much money I'm bringing in every month, and how much of that profit I can afford to reinvest to get more customers. That's your budget. So if you go to any agency or a freelancer or something like that, you need to have an idea of how much money you are actually can physically afford to spend on marketing. Saying, however much it's cost, that doesn't make sense. Your accountant's going to go absolutely crazy because they're not going to know why you're spending this money, and it's really hard to judge return on investment. because you need to think about when building your marketing budget, and the reason why you have marketing is how much is a customer worth to you? And it's a simple question to ask. Every single business owner knows how much one customer is worth to them. Whether it's a customer that, say you're a plumber, you know how much a boiler repair is worth to you, how much it costs your guy to do it, and how much profit you make off of it. So if you were doing a marketing campaign that had to do with boiler repair, and say you were doing traditional and digital, so you have your website and you've got SEO and PPC to be found, but then you're also doing leaflets. You need to figure out how much of a budget you can put in your PPC and still afford those leaflets to make back the entire amount of money, including if you hire a marketing agency, how much is that it costs you to make that money back. But throughout this entire thing, I'll kind of keep reiterating, you need to have some sort of marketing, and it doesn't matter what it is. If you say it's word of mouth, that's great. You need to figure out a way to use word of mouth better, which we'll talk about in a second. Let's delve a bit more into PPC, and then we can move on to the fun stuff.
So PPC stands for Party Planners Community. No, joking. It stands for pay-per-click. So, like I said, it is the eBay of keywords. So PPC is what you use to get to the top of Google searches, and a lot of people do think getting to the top is the be all and end all. And don't get me wrong, it's nice to be number one. Like, everyone wants to be number one. But then what you find is what you find is it does cost you. And when people search things, they normally see the first thing and click on it, and then they go and see and they're like, oh no, that isn't it. So they go back. That's cost you however much. That could cost you your daily budget, because I don't know how much people's daily budgets are. If that keyword has cost £15, your daily budget's £15. That's costed your daily budget, and it hasn't converted, it hasn't worked. So you need to think about kind of PPC. It's not be end and end all to be like the first, like number one. You want to be maybe 2, 3, 4, even below the SEO rankings at the bottom on the first page, because people do like to research. Not everyone's going to delve in and go for the first thing they see. So you need to think about that for PPC as well.
As a bit of an example, so we work with an accountancy firm and run their PPC in-house, and part of the PPC is going through and seeing the bid. Now, for any business out there, owners, tax deadline's coming up in
less than a week.
So the amount of searches for self-assessment and VAT, tax return, all that stuff has spiked. So every morning when I come in, I will look to see what my bid prices are, and things that, I'm not going to lie, on January 9th probably cost about $1, £1, 20 something pence. Like, what was one? Tax assessment deadline. £1, 27 cents or something like pence. Today, this morning, prior to coming in to do this, I think it was 366 maybe? I'm trying to remember. We have quite a few keywords for this accountancy, so it's a matter of going in. But I've seen them jump, and that's kind of that thing along PPC is some keywords you just look at and you go, you know what, that's priced me out of what I actually think is worth it. And it's not a bad thing when it comes to PPC to question your agency or the freelancer you have doing for whatever it may be, to ask them why they're bidding, what their bidding strategy is, why they're bidding that way. And from a perspective as well, you should know, and I do this as an agency, when I'm dealing with PPC, I go back to my customers and I ask them what they're doing with those leads. Because if I'm bringing in those leads, 40, 50 leads in a month, I gotta kind of ask, where's the conversion at? And I'm doing that because in reality, I'm curious as to, I'm doing my job according to our contract, but are you doing your job as the customer? One thing you got to realize as well is when it comes to a marketing agency, our job is to bring you the customers, your job to sell them. It's not actually our job to sell the customers. We could do it, but it's a matter of then you're paying my salary, you're paying his salary, and it becomes you just hired 2 salesmen, you didn't hire marketers. Marketers, we bring you in the door. So if you had a shop, we would get the customers in there. You would have to have the goods, services, and provide the customer experience in order for them to buy from you.
If you want us to sell, we can come to your shop and put an apron on or whatever, put the uniform on and do it for you, but
it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, not really expensive because he's cheap, but yeah, expensive for me.
But, sorry, going back to PPC, just touching on something Nick said before. He said that he comes in and checks every morning to see, and every evening to see where, and sometimes during the day I've seen him do, to see where the bids are. Now, if he didn't do that, because he just said he saw something at £1.29, then he moved up to £3. If you're not checking it every day, by not checking it, if he didn't check it, he wouldn't have known that it had gone up by £2. And so his bid of £1.29 would have made him with Hoffa on page 10. You need to keep checking these things. And I understand, if you're running a business, you can't be checking your PPC, doing the SEO, writing a blog, working on your customers, business development, keeping the lights on. You need some help.
And funny that he mentions blog, because that will be the next thing we kind of talk about. Relates back to your website, relates back to SEO. You may think that nobody wants to hear what you say. And, you know, they might not want to. But customers do like to hear about what's going on in the businesses in which they interact with, follow along with, buy from.
Be educated.
Yeah, it's a great way to release new products. It's a great way to highlight reviews from customers. This goes back to word of mouth advertising, something that a lot of people, especially small businesses, like to do. It doesn't have to be well thought out. It doesn't have to be the most eloquent thing in the world. You don't need to be a copywriter in order to be able to put out a good blog. If that's the course that you want to go down, there's plenty of copywriters out there that you can purchase their services by word. You can send it over to an agency like us, and we're able to put together different blogs. I'm not an expert at every business, but I do the research to make sure that I can write anywhere between a short form 300 to 700 word blog to, in reality, I can probably get into a long form as well, and up to 1,500 words. But it's just about talking about the business and helping people out. Ruben had mentioned education, and that is important. You're giving value for money. Individuals, especially today, start to realize that their time is valuable. You're taking the time to watch this, your time is valuable. So we're trying to provide you with some sort of education behind it, meaning we understand that you taking the time to watch this costs you money. In reality, it does, because your time is money. And so we're trying to give you some sort of educational process. That should be one of the goals behind putting a blog out. Let's see. We've covered PPC, we've covered SEO, we've covered the website, we've covered a blog. I mean, that only leaves
social media, that conundrum.
Millennials spend more time on social media than they do anything else. YouTube is the #2 search engine in the world, followed
after Google.
Yeah, and #3, Facebook. Facebook is actually a search engine now. Here's the thing. Video, let's see, they said MTV, I remember there was a song, Video Killed the Radio Star. Video is killing the traditional marketing budget. In 2017, businesses shift nearly half their budgets from traditional means, whether it be radio or television advertising, to some form of digital advertising. They did it in the form of video. Companies like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, they've redesigned their platforms to highlight video. Facebook actually, it used to be, if you put a picture in with every post, people, Facebook's algorithm was like, that's really cool. They actually don't even care about pictures anymore. They want video. And it's because it's a medium that helps people kind of stay attached. I spoke to a customer a couple months ago, and his grandson had told him about viral marketing. And his exact words to me were, I wanted to go viral. I wanted to go viral. And then I asked him, what does going viral mean? And he couldn't give me an answer. And so I had to kind of tell him that I didn't think that his business, unless they did something very zany, was going to figure out a way to go viral. And it's the quick fix. Everybody wants to win the lottery, and that's what going viral does. But what you can do, besides the whole go viral market, is to just put out relevant content. say you're a carpenter.
Yep.
And you're building something really cool. Buy a GoPro or use your cell phone. Set it up on a stand. Please set it up on a stand, and please set it up portrait. So don't set it up portrait. This is portrait. This is landscape. You want it landscape, okay? So that when you set it up and it films, it takes up the whole screen, not just like this. Sorry, it's a pet peeve of mine. Set it up on a stand. You can buy one from Amazon for like 10 quid. It'll hold it in place nice and easy. And then do your carpentry work. Then put that up on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, whatever it may be, to show off kind of the work that you're doing. People want to see that kind of stuff because they want to know how things are built. The number one actual search term used on YouTube is how to, and then whatever else behind it. But that is the number one reason why people actually use YouTube. Now I get there's YouTube stars out there and all this other nonsense, but still the videos that get the clicks and everything else are the how-to videos.
I mean, you always say, I always asked what university you went to, and you say, I went to the University of YouTube.
I did. My business partner and I, we started a business. We launched it pre-YouTube days, and we had to learn how to do everything. I know how to do the entire Adobe software because of YouTube. Whether it's editing video, editing photos, we do a podcast, which will be back.
We promise.
It's been a very busy January with clients, which is a good thing. But hence the reason why we took the time today to do this is because we wanted to kind of give back to those people that have been part of the journey with us over the last 6 months to a year that I've been here. But when it comes to social media, remember, video is king. And it doesn't have to be. I read an article not too long ago on The Verb that said that high glossy, well-produced, and like over-the-top videos actually get less views than like just
no filter, real videos.
With just a guy sitting there with the camera. The stand. The only reason why I say the stand is because otherwise it's like Blair Witch, and I just go back to that.
Shaking everywhere.
Exactly. So, but show off what you do. Be proud of what you do. As a business owner, one of the key things behind it is, telling people why it is. Probably one of my favorite parts of this job is when he's not calling clients and I get a call a client for the first time. And I ask him 2 questions. I ask him, what is it they do? And then after probably about 10, 15 minutes, because let's be honest, business owners love to talk about their business, I'll usually ask
And you should.
I'll ask what they like about their business as well. And that will be about another 15, 20 minutes, which is great. Because it gives me pretty much all the information I need to figure out, okay, what is their business about, who their niche market is, and what they're going after. So do the videos. Start, if you don't have a Facebook account, set one up. Use Instagram, especially if you're going after millennials. Think about Snapchat as well if you're going after millennials. YouTube, it's the be-all, end-all. It's part of the Google family, so there's a reason why it's so huge. Vimeo as well, as if you want a paid account for a business. So there's kind of a lot of options there. If you want more details regarding any of this, feel free to send us an email at info@coretiummedia.com. We kind of break things down for you. But now comes the time when we get into email marketing, and we get into this right here. So, to say that your business is going to change on May 5th is an understatement. 25th. It's an understatement because when the GDPR takes effect, it will change the way that... Oh, hold on, let me preface this. This is in no way legal advice. We are not solicitors. If you need legal advice, please call a solicitor. For more information regarding the information we're going to go over now, please go to ico.org.uk and you can find out more. It's 97 pages long. It's written in legalese. But you can pull a few points out of it that kind of help out. And the ones we're going to talk about now get into the last bit of marketing that we were going to discuss, which is email marketing.
So, email marketing will change. So, email marketing is traditional and modern. Let's be honest, because email has been around for a while now, and people do send emails. And to send an email, obviously, you need to have an email address. And how people get email addresses vary, shall we say?
There's the years ago you were buying lists of emails because people would sign up for stuff. You would do contact boxes on your website, whether it's lead gen on Facebook ads or Twitter ads or LinkedIn ads. You can actually capture emails that way as well.
So how it's going to change is one of the key parts of the GDPR involved. It's giving power back to the data subject, so you or us.
Customer.
So people themselves have the final say on who holds their data, how long for, and why they've got it,
and how they got it.
Yes. So everything needs to have an opt-in box, and you need to have an opt-in box, but it cannot be pre-ticked. That's the amount of times I think
that's the old workaround is when you go in and there's
please
two
untick
boxes,
the box to
not
receive, and then people untick it, so it can. I'm getting confused talking about it. You're probably getting confused listening to it. Imagine the person who's reading it.
So what happened is a couple of years ago when you signed up for a service, say you signed up to be a part of any kind of online service, and they would have a little tick box at the bottom that said to receive our newsletter and updates of sales and specials and everything else, there would be a tick box already clicked. And then you would have to, as it was legally, click the one that says you agree to the terms and conditions. Well, gone are the days of that tick box being ticked. Now, a lot of companies are smart and they have actually pulled that away, and you'll see that both of them are blank right now. And you have to still do the terms and conditions. Now, terms and conditions will actually have to change as well, because you're going to have to, as well, in your terms and conditions, have a bit about what data you're holding, how long you're holding it, and the ability for an individual to call you up and you send them all of the data that you have on them via email. I had a problem with a company, and I told them that I wanted all the data that was on there, and they told me that I needed to send a written request. And I continued to go after them, and they continued to come back with a written request. I went to the ICO. The ICO said, no, actually, you don't have to have a written request. I sent them the letter from the ICO. I finally got the data that they had on me, and I told them to remove that data. Now, that was a lot of hoops to jump through because I did not want to be bothered by that company anymore. Gone are those days. If an individual were to, say we send out an email to somebody and they send me a message saying, whatever data that you have on me, I want copies of it and I want it removed from your system immediately. As a business, I have to say yes. I have absolutely no power. Now, the main reason why you want to do that is a financial one. And the financial aspect of it goes back to a failure to comply with GDPR could bring a heavy financial penalty to an organization, either 4% turnover or a fine of 20 million euros, whichever is the larger. Now, that doesn't mean that the mom and pop's place on the corner is going to end up having to pay 20 million euros when their annual turnover is like 50,000. But it does mean that they can make an example out of people. And from what I've heard through the rumblings is, and what was one company owner actually said to me, he goes, oh, well, they're not going to get everybody. Here's the great thing. It's the way for the government to make jobs, because as they find people, they're going to hire more people to go after other people that are doing it, and it's going to be a constant thing. So you're going to all of a sudden have these GDPR enforcement office jobs popping up all over the country.
The new traffic officer.
It's really going to turn into something where look, the power is going back to the individual, which is great. And as somebody who gets thousands of spam mails every single week, I think it's really cool. But I also think that it's a scary time for marketing because it takes away a channel that, it is traditional, but it is modern, and it does work. So, again, this is how big it is, right here. 97 pages, and it covers everything that you could possibly imagine. Your best bet is to, if you don't, I always say just go to the ico.org.uk. Look at it. If you don't understand it, like Ruben said here, he goes, I understood where it said introduction, and then as it started going on, he goes, okay, this is all legalese. It goes around in circles. And you feel that you might be in a position where, I really got to look at my data protection, contact a local solicitor. Kind of find out what it is that you have data-wise. There's opportunities as well as, I know if you go to the ico.org.uk, there's help things in there. So check that out and try and be following the regulations, I guess, is the only best way to put it. We will be sending out an email to our entire email data list, which is something that you should do as well, that states, unless you sign up to this, you will never receive another email from us. And it'll be a double opt-in. And the key behind it is because if we get that double opt-in, that means you actually want to hear from us. So you might want to look at your current database and come late April, early May, start kind of thinking about that same kind of thing. Figure out a way to put together an email to where you're giving value for that email address. Similar to the time that, we want to borrow from you to educate you, you got to think about that as well as for the email. So be real self-conscious of how you're putting things together and make sure you have that double opt-in. Is there anything else that we need to go over as a brief overview? And this is in no way legal advice.
I think we've covered it all. Like we've told them about fine, that you need to have an opt-in and that consent,
early withdrawal. Okay. Now, you may be thinking, wow, they went over a lot of stuff and it sounds all expensive. Different marketing costs different prices, but you need to figure out which one works best for your business. As I said when we were talking originally about traditional, look at your competition. Everybody knows who their competition is. Figure out what they're doing and either do it better or choose a channel they're not using. If all of your competition is using print, try digital, whether it's Facebook ads, Twitter ads, LinkedIn ads. You might do something like PPC, whatever it may be. If you need any help with that, feel free to send us an email at info@coretiummedia.com or call
0207 537 6602.
All right. Thanks for watching. You can find a copy of this webinar on YouTube. We'll post a link and we'll put a blog on coretiummedia.com/blog so you can check it out. Appreciate you guys sitting through this and listening to us ramble for a bit. And we will see you probably next month where we'll get into something completely different and a bit more in depth as far as educational purposes. Thanks.
Bye, guys.